The intruders are neutralized. Lock the door and stay here.
Someone should definitely make a movie about you. You were amazing.
I was always gonna love this game. I am the target audience. I love Robocop, and I have since the first time I saw it when I was 12. I even have a begrudging fondness for Robocop 2. And that's where the franchise ends. About a week ago, I heard Peter Weller was returning for this game, so I bought it blindly on the PlayStation 5. I rarely buy games at full price. I've been around long enough to tell that Robocop Rogue City will be a $20 sale piece within a year. But still, it's Robocop.
It's Robocop!
Surrender your weapons.
If you aren't familiar with Robocop, it's a 1987 film starring Peter Weller, and you should probably just go watch it. At its most basic, it's a story about a city employee who gets gunned down but still has to clock in for the next shift. Rogue City is developed by Teon out of Poland, who most recently put out the Terminator tie-in game. Rogue City is a first-person shooter with RPG elements, and it takes place between Robocop 2 and all that other stuff we don't talk about. Gameplay is split between roleplay-focused sections and intense shooting set pieces. Throughout the game, Robocop conducts actual police work, writing parking tickets, solving investigations, and so on. It makes him a little more human than in the first movie, where he's basically just a walking tank. You'll get to see him converse with suspects, develop rapport with fellow police officers, and control which dialogue trees he follows. Robocop is already a defined character, and most of the options in this game adhere closely with the already established persona. There isn't a good-evil slider in this game. Robocop is lawful. There's just the choice of which prime directives to focus on.
Serve the public trust. Protect the innocent. Uphold the law.
No theatrically overdone evil options, just small decisions.
So he'll let you off with a warning. Right?
Right.
It's a wonderful way to handle an existing character, and the dialogue trees tie in very well with the central premise of the game and the series. Is Robocop a product or a person? The RPG sections are fairly explicit about this, and early on Robocop is assigned a robo-psychologist to help him work through his feelings, or rather to help the player define whether they consider him to be Robocop the product or Alex Murphy the man. It's a good example of gameplay actually reinforcing the central theme, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it. There are also some light detective work sections where Robocop uses his robo-vision to follow footsteps and look for clues. Or is it Witcher sight? Eagle vision? I'm a little tired of this mechanic in games, but it's fairly unobtrusive and a relatively small part of gameplay. There's an XP system that allows for leveling various skills related to combat, conversation, and exploration. Skills provide flat bonuses to Robocop's attributes, and each skill has 3 capstone levels that provide additional abilities, such as bullet time or a temporary shield. The cooldown abilities usually unlock at the first capstone, so your in-combat toolset opens up pretty early. You don't get enough experience to max out every stat, but I didn't have any problems grabbing the abilities I wanted.
Guns!
The shooting gameplay is immensely satisfying. Gunplay is almost the opposite of a movement shooter. Robocop is slow, and moving through the levels takes some time. You've got options to advance under fire, whether that involves crashing through walls to flank enemies, or throwing on the shield and walking straight into the gunfire. There are plenty of sequences that are punishing, but none that are impossible. There's a bit of oddness with the aim-down sights in this game. As a feature, aiming down the sights activates RoboVision, which highlights enemies. It's useful for the breach and clear sections straight from the original Modern Warfare, where Robocop busts in a door and must clear all the hostiles from a room before slow-mo runs out and the hostages are executed. The weird thing about the aim-down sights is that it functions irregularly across guns. Some guns have an iron sight view, and others just push the original view in. It's not game-breaking, it's just odd. There are the same over-the-top gore effects as the movie. Enemies tend to explode, limbs get shot off, and yes, Robocop can still shoot a guy in the dick. Your primary weapon is Robocop's leg-holstered pistol, the Auto 9. It starts out as a 3-round burst, 50-round magazine, infinite ammo weapon, but can be upgraded as the player finds different PCB chips to slot in. It's a pretty neat minigame. You make a path from the power supply to the biggest upgrades by slotting in various directional pieces into the maze. Each piece will give a flat percentage bonus to the gun's stats, and the slot itself determines which stat is affected. The goal is to get your highest percent pieces on the board, and to avoid any negative modifiers. By the end of the game, my gun was fully auto, dealing double damage, near perfectly accurate, and it didn't require reloads, which certainly felt incredibly overpowered. There are only 3 original songs in the game. They are tied to the rival gangs, and each is a racket.
The music is too loud. My sound sensor measures 126 decibels. You are damaging your ears as we speak.
The remainder of the music is recycled from Basil Polidoris' original synths and string score from Robocop. Those sections are great, but considering they're overlaying the score from an hour-and-a-half movie onto a 10-hour game, they can become a bit repetitive or a bit too quiet. As far as sound design, Robocop feels weighty and the guns sound impossibly loud. There's a good heft to all the sound effects, so no problem there. Unfortunately, the voice performances are all over the place, both in quality and volume.
Leave us. I want to talk to him in private. You have to excuse me for not getting up. I'm in a rather unfortunate state. You did exceptional work at the bank. I want you to know that I am deeply grateful for your service to OCP and the city of Detroit.
The obvious favorite is Peter Weller. It's a stellar performance, and he's given some very fun lines to chew on.
So you would not want to earn some money, would you?
I don't! I mean, I do! I do want to earn money! But wait, your voice. You sound like...
A future happy customer.
Plus, there's an informant named Pickles.
Pickles is in...
Gherkin, was it?
Pickles. Like pickles.
The graphics in the RPG sections are probably the weak point of the game. The environments are well done, but character animations are severely lacking. Even for somewhat major actions, take a look at the technician disassembling Robocop's helmet. In the movie, this is an entire scene. The screw Robocop pulls out of his head is so massive the audience is forced to wonder how much of his brain is really left in there. But here, there's no screw at all. Facial animations are in a state where they already look dated. The mouths move, but the eyes and faces have an uncanny stillness. It reminds me of the animations in Oblivion more than anything else. None of this matters too much for the shooter sections, but it is a bit off-putting in the dialogue scenes. On the PS5 at least, this is a glitchy game. Character models occasionally clip together during cutscenes. There were a few instances where vocal cues would fail to play or trigger multiple times. Some cutscenes triggered a second time long after the associated quests were resolved as well. Most of these were ultimately minor, though I did crash to the home screen 5 times over the course of the game, all in the same level. There was also some bizarre, pixelated tearing effect I ran into whenever the camera switched angles, but turning the graphics mode from quality to performance mostly resolved it, at the cost of making facial animations occasionally fail to play. I didn't encounter anything game-breaking, no corrupted saves or issues like that, and it keeps a running log of autosaves from start to finish. It really seems like this project just needed a few more months of work, but given how some other games have turned around after launch, there's still hope that this could be fixed down the road. I'd never count on something being fixed after the money is already made, though. The writing is a strong suit of Rogue City, and there are a lot of little tricks that make it a standout experience.
The line of duty is crammed into a small room, while the old man has a cozy VIP wing of the hospital all to himself.
But the time you had your tonsils removed, you were staying in the VIP wing too.
We're not talking about me. We need to talk about the people.
My favorite bit is how often the corporate OCP characters will quote or call back lines from Robocop that were originally spoken by gangsters, and vice versa.
Bitches leave.
Now, you leave. Bitches, come!
I say good business is where you find it.
Hey, I prefer street entrepreneur. You know what they say, good business is where you find it.
The satire of the game really holds up even when compared to the original movie, and there are some genuinely hilarious new moments. Like when a drug dealer is confronted by his peers for an emergency macroeconomics lecture.
Such action leads to a reduction of future demand, yours included. Antitrust laws are there for a reason.
And the game successfully digs further into the real thematic questions of the movie. What happens when powerful corporations can purchase the legitimate right of violence? How much of a human body can be replaced before it's no longer a human? And which part makes us human? The meat or the memories? Maybe I've seen this movie too many times. Anyways, people explode when they're shot, so that's still pretty cool. And that's the beauty of Robocop. There's as much subtext as you look for.
We won, so smile.
In the story, we are working against the new guy in town, an ultra-wealthy gangster who has come to Detroit and has all the local gangs vying for his attention. The story is an echo of the first Robocop film, so naturally there are shady ties between the villain and Robocop's creator, the mega-conglomerate OCP. There are other through lines here, such as the increasing illness of OCP founder, the Old Man, and a mayoral election between an OCP stooge and the probably corrupt incumbent. Robocop is also struggling with a glitching issue. This manifests in surprisingly tense horror sequences.
Goldfinch Jewelry has a discount on wedding rings. Choose something special. It's a symbol of your love and something for her to remember you by after you decided to get yourself killed and leave your family all alone, Alex Murphy.
Despite being a retread of the movie, there are enough variations and genuine surprises in the plot to keep the game intriguing. I won't spoil anything else because frankly I'd rather you play it and witness it firsthand. Overall, Robocop Rogue City has brilliant writing that expands on the satirical and political message of the first movie, exciting apocalyptic gunplay, and RPG elements that allow for two very different yet somehow correct versions of Robocop. Downsides of the game include some already dated animation and graphics, plus some audio-visual glitches and bugs. Rogue City really is a throwback to the golden age of weird shooter games, that period around 2007 when games like Dark Sector, Prey, and Time Shift were toying with what else could be layered over gunplay. I think Rogue City succeeds with its fusion of RPG and FPS, and fans of either will likely enjoy the spectacle. On the pain scale, I'd give it a painless. Sure, there are some little glitches and issues, but none of them detracted from the experience substantially enough to make me stop loving it. Well, that's it for my fourth review. I hope you like Robocop as much as I do. See ya!
Hey, Robo! Do the robot dance!
Watch and learn, young man.